Welcome to Tea and Talk. I'm your host, Olivia Boughton. Today I'm joined by my dear friend, Mary Nemeth. Mary, thank you so much for coming on with me today. I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Olivia.
Anything that I ask, right?
Anything you ask.
So before we get chatting, I will talk about the tea that we're going to drink today. So I've mentioned this on my show before, but we are actually not drinking tea. We are drinking a tisane, which is a fancy name for herbal tea. So there's no actual tea leaves in what we're drinking today. And what we're having is a blend of fruits and herbs and spices. It's like a raspberry mojito. So there's some raspberry in there. There's hibiscus, rose hips. There's also some mint. So it should be yummy, I hope. And the teapot that we are using today actually has some hibiscus flowers on it. So it kind of is appropriate for our tea and this lovely little hummingbird. And the teacups that we're using, obviously they're not a set, these three items, but this teacup was actually presented to me by my first guest on Tea and Talk, Michael Dwyer. He brought this along and gave this to me, so I thought it goes with this hummingbird theme, so we're gonna use that today. And then a very, color palette appropriate kind of orange and green with some florals on the front side of your cup over there. So I only brought honey for us to put in our tea today because I don't think that we'll need much more than that. So let me pour you a little bit, Mary, and we'll take a taste and see what this is like. This is a new tea for me as well, so I'm experimenting along with you.
Thank you.
So I'll give that
the color
to
is
you.
beautiful.
It is, right? And I'll let you have this as a raw honey, so let you put some honey in for yourself if you like. It looks like rubies.
Yes, it does.
Right? Nice ruby red. I'm going to take some honey for mine as well.
Oh, and it smells delicious.
It does smell so good, right? I know, we can't get the smell across the television waves, but that's okay.
Cheers.
So cheers. Cheers to you. Have a little sip.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
Wow, such flavors.
Nice flavors in there, right? Nice flavors. It's still a little warm.
It's perfect. It's perfect, and that cup is beautiful.
It's pretty, right? It's pretty. Since I started the show, I've been amassing all kinds of pieces, so I'm happy to be able to share them, even when they're not a matched set.
Yeah.
So, Mary, it's time to talk about you. Now we've had tea, we can talk.
Well, the tea is just wonderful, and it reminds me of, the raspberry reminds me of my grandma, my babci, who grew raspberries in her backyard, and as a little girl I used to pick them, and then she would make this magic syrup.
Oh.
This magic raspberry syrup, and from a little girl she would give me tea and some of that syrup. Ooh. Of course, we didn't have the flavored teas back then.
Right.
So you had tea and this raspberry syrup, so when I tasted that today, it was like, wow, babci's here.
Oh, it's like a little reminder of your childhood and of her. Oh, that's so nice.
She taught me to cook a lot of things. I had my own little dishes and my own little pie plates.
Did you really?
Absolutely. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're a very good cook of all things Polish, right?
Oh yes, yes.
And I think for a while you were doing baking and like wedding cake level.
I was
baking.
when I was in high school. That was my side job. I baked cakes, and I baked birthday cakes and theme cakes like Mickey Mouse and the little dolls and wedding cakes, and a lot of wedding cakes.
A lot of wedding cakes. So how did you start doing that?
Because the same grandmother, excuse me, babci, she taught me, and she used to do wedding cakes.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
Wow. So I mean, that's a tremendous amount of work for a high school student.
Excuse me, it was, but I think the best part of it was the transporting. My mom and dad.
Oh gosh.
Picture this, in the front seat of the car, my dad driving, always in a hurry. My mom sitting there with a huge piece of cake on her lap, you know, because you had it in sections, especially the wedding cakes.
Yes, that's right.
And me in the back seat trying to pray that we would get wherever we were going, because if it was for a wedding, you didn't have much of a chance to redo it.
No, and you don't want to show up and say, I'm sorry, but your cake's smushed.
The drive I remember the most is the drive to the Art Center in Manchester.
Oh my gosh.
If you've ever been up there, it's up a mountain. And here I am sitting in the back seat, leaning back with these cakes. We made it.
Did you ever not make it?
No, we always made it. We always made it. You know, it wasn't always the most comfortable ride.
A lot of anxiety.
A lot of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. But it was a good experience, and it was something my grandma did.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, I might as well try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were good. They didn't care what I did. You know, they told me what they sort of liked, and then it was up to me to create something. So.
Right. So yeah, it allowed you a sort of a creative outlet too, right?
Yeah.
Something to experiment and do your own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad cooked all the time too, and he's the one that taught me how to cook as well. So
was this the grandmother? Was that his mom?
No, it was my mom's mom.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was my mom's mom.
Yep.
They both came from Poland, my grandmothers, and I was blessed to have them. And their cooking methods were different. One cooked everything thick, and the other one cooked everything very thin.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they were from the same regions in Poland.
I was just going to ask if they were from different areas or not.
It was just crazy that they cooked that way. But they were delicious. I don't care which
Right.
grandmother
Either way,
I went to. It was delicious, yes.
Yeah.
And the honey, of course, thank you for bringing that. That reminds me of my beekeeping days.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So, again, as a little kid being involved in St. Stanislaus Church, the Monsignor Mahuka had bees, and my dad worked for him part-time.
Were they at the rectory?
Oh yeah, there was a little honey house in the back of the church, of the rectory, and he had like 7 or 8 hives of bees.
Wow.
So I learned a little bit about that, and then my dad and his brother John had bees at his house. So.
Yeah.
On a Sunday afternoon, I'd be sitting in front of a hive and watching the drones and the worker bees and the queen and catching swarms and then extracting honey.
Wow, wow. Did you do that into your adult life?
Yes, until I got allergic. I got stung so many times that I became allergic.
Wow.
And that was a sad day because it's fascinating watching a hive working. It's just fascinating. And if you ever want to do something interesting, get a couple hives of bees.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. How they take care of each other, how they protect the queen. It's just amazing.
They're really a unit.
They're a unit.
Together.
And, you know, they maintain a temperature around the queen winter and summer around 70, 75 degrees.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing. And then they produce this honey. And then we made candles.
Ooh.
For the church. At one time, the church had only beeswax candles from Monsignor's bees.
Wow.
So all the candle holders were stocked with those candles that were made. And that was quite a process with all that hot wax.
Yeah.
And then we made honey wine, mead.
Ooh.
And that was fabulous.
Wow. Wow.
A little bit of citrus in the honey, and it was delicious. And that was the wine that they used to use for the altar wine.
Oh my gosh! So you were producing all these things that then were used in worship at church.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of that full circle idea.
It was full circle.
Yeah.
And the bees gave me and others the relaxation to just watch them.
Yes.
That calm.
I've heard that. That it's a very calming thing, and that even the sound that they make and that buzzing and they're so, as you said, they're so in tune and organized as a unit that I'm sure it's meditative in some ways to reflect upon that, you know?
Yes.
And witness that as they're going about their work, each having their own job.
That's right.
To make the hive work as a whole.
And people would call you if they had a swarm in their neighborhood, and they want you to come and take it down in your basket. And my dad and I would go and get
to do that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
Had a lot of opportunities that today are just sort of gone.
Yeah, I was going to say those are really unique opportunities that you're talking about as a child, you know, learning these things that you still remember now. And
I do.
And I'm sure, you know, provided sort of a foundation for other things that you did in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, my dad wanted a son first.
Yeah.
And he didn't get a son, he got me.
Yep, can't choose.
So he accepted that, I think, and I was his gopher. I mean, I learned so much from him by just watching him and him asking me to help him all the time with different things. But I was clearly a gopher. But I was learning, because I don't learn as well from a book as I do visually.
Right.
So for me, that was really interesting. He was also a volunteer firefighter in West Rutland. So when my mom was working as a nurse at the hospital, you know, I was around, and, you know, sometimes I went in the fire truck with him because there was no babysitter.
Right, which I'm sure was very exciting.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. And he was a forest fire warden, and so we got to put out fires in the woods. And
yeah, so he was doing a lot of interesting things.
He was.
That you got to tag along with and observe and participate in and learn from.
And I always wanted to be a firefighter. And he just kind of said, no daughter of mine is going to be a firefighter. And that was the end of the story.
It was the end of that.
But that's okay. That's okay. We had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
So, I mean, we're talking a lot about your dad, and some of our viewers will remember him.
Bye-bye, honey.
Bye-bye, honey, right, from the Polish Hour.
That's right.
Right, on WSYB.
WHWB.
I was going to say it was on another station. I can't remember, WHWB, before that. And, I mean, that show ran for a long, long time.
Over 40 years.
Yeah, and you were...
I was there for like 15 doing it live with him as he was getting older and having difficulty walking and whatnot. But it was an hour of fun for lots of people. Lots of people.
Yeah, I mean, right, you could send in your birthday or anniversary requests, and he would read them on the air and play your song, whatever that might be.
Whatever song anyone wanted.
Yep.
He had such a library of
I was going to say
albums.
he had to have had just...
He had over 1,078 records, if anybody can remember what those look like. You know, probably as many 33s and probably 1,500 45s.
Wow.
Wow. So every week, if somebody would write in for a song, we'd have to look for that. It took probably 3 hours to prepare for that 1 hour show.
Wow. Wow. I mean, were things kind of cataloged, or at least
we had
in
them
order?
cataloged.
Yeah.
In sort of order.
In sort of order.
Oh, no computers, just, you know.
Right.
So we put them in sort of order, but it was still, sometimes it was a pain in the neck, but most times it was fun.
Yeah.
Most times it was fun.
Yeah.
And the only person that ever substituted for him on the show was Terry J.
Yeah, Terry was here on my show.
For my sister's wedding. And otherwise we did it the whole 40-some years.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's another really unique experience.
It was.
You know, because even, you know, you were saying that it was all records and, you know, 78s and 8 tracks and, you know, older media than what we have now, where everything is digitized. And you could just look in the computer for whatever polka and play that. But this was manual labor.
Yes, you had to cue it up. And if you didn't cue it up, cue that record up quite right, it would start with kind of like, you know.
Right, that strange sound when you first put the record on.
Yes. But sometimes we got it right, other times we didn't. And we had some very cool sponsors on the Polish Hour for many years. And they were very loyal. Very, very loyal. And then we were followed by Joe Valenti on the Italian Hour.
Oh,
and the best part of Joe Valenti is he would bring some fresh Italian bread most weekends. Loved it.
Nice. So you'd have a little snack in there.
Snack when I got home. No, I took the loaf home.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, but it was delicious. I love that Italian bread.
Oh my gosh. So, I know, and I remember going into the studio when I was young, and your dad was on, and I think he let me say something on the air. My grandfather, I think, took me over there, and it was amazing for me as a little girl, you know, to go into the studio like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like magical.
It was. It really was magical.
Yeah.
And I don't think I appreciated it as much when I was doing it as I appreciate it now.
Yeah.
You know, it was very cool, but I didn't realize how many people it really touched.
Yeah.
That's the piece.
Yep.
And then when you helped with Terry and did the CD
Yes.
many years ago, we raised almost $1,000 and sent to the poor in Poland.
Yeah.
As a result of it. It was a beautiful thing that, you know, he was gone for many years and we're still doing this.
Yeah, yeah, that's...
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, right? Even after the show is over, after your dad's passed, right, there's still a lasting legacy there.
Yes.
You know?
Still people see me and say, you know, bye-bye, honey.
Bye-bye, honey.
And we never knew who the honey was.
Yeah. Anybody, right?
Nobody.
I mean, and that's kind of, right, that's kind of it. If you're listening to it, you felt like you were part of Joe's family, right? You were in there, and it was just I don't know, like he was in your living room, he was there in your kitchen, he was a part of everybody's household in some way. So I think that phrase, right, has meant so much to so many people because it was like he's talking to me, you know, to every individual person out there listening. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So I grew up in West Rutland, went to West Rutland High School.
Yeah. With my mom.
With your mom, my best friend. She was my best friend in high school, and it was just, it was a good experience. Went to St. Stanislaus for the first 8 years. And
with the Felician sisters.
With the Felician
over there.
sisters, yes. And got to speak a lot of Polish. And,
I heard you recently tell somebody that Polish was really your first language.
Polish was my first language. We lived with, we had an apartment over a wonderful couple named the Golas in West Rutland. And Mr. and Mrs. Gola never spoke English to us. They always spoke Polish. And they taught us so much as kids, too, my sister and I. They were wonderful people. They came from Poland. They had 3 children. And it was just a wonderful time. But they only spoke to us in Polish. Even after we were older, it didn't matter.
Isn't that funny?
It didn't matter. So they were just... They were very good people.
Yeah, and you keep that up, right?
I still speak Polish. I mean, it's not many do around the area.
Right.
But I try to listen to Mass sometime on TV. There are not TV so much anymore as on the web that you can just go to different places and listen to the Polish Mass. And but I'll lose it at some point. You know, I'm not as good. Although I went to Poland in 2006, and I surprised myself. I did a good job.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, you're not using it as much, but it's been there for so long, you know, as part of your life that it's like one of those things that comes back, even though you don't expect that it will. You know?
And it's a beautiful language. It really is a beautiful language.
Yeah, you were my Polish diction coach.
Yes.
You know, teaching me how to pronounce all kinds of words so I could sing Polish songs.
Those were fun days on the couch on a Saturday afternoon.
They were fun. They were fun.
We had a good time doing that. I forgot about that, but we did have a good time doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've had a sprinkling of a lot of stuff. Of course, I spent 40-odd years at the hospital, and those experiences were wonderful as well. Yeah. You know, so learning to be that son, I guess, that my father wanted. I was doing all the facility work there. And I remember I had this teacher named Mr. Grout in high school, and I was taking geometry. And I said, I'll never use this. Why do I need this stuff? And he was wonderful. He had the patience of a saint. And I think of him so often, as I thought of him so often, and still do every day about, you know, I'm into doing construction stuff here and there and building, and I need that all the time.
Isn't that funny, right? I'm chuckling because I think there's probably many people, right, who in school are like, when am I ever going to use whatever it is? And the surprising part of life is that these things suddenly become very useful to us, and in the most unexpected places and ways, and the things that we, you know, think, this isn't really worth my time because I'll never need it, comes up.
And he saw some sort of potential in me that I never saw.
Isn't that funny?
And he kept pushing me and pushing me, and he was just the most wonderful teacher. You know, so it just, you go back and think about all your teachers, and you know, he stood out for me as the subject I hated, but he made it fun.
But a person that you admired.
Yes, to this day, you know, I'll be stuck on a problem or something, and I'll think, oh, wish Mr. Grout were here.
He could help me.
He could help me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's similar to what you were saying about your dad in a way that, you know, in the Polish Hour show, most of the time teachers never know what their impact is, right? But it's there, and their students go on to live life and then have these experiences where they're remembering things that they learned, you know, decades earlier that stick with them. And it's so true, I think, of most of our lives. We have no idea really of the effect that we have on those around us. And I think that's important to remember sometimes, because if we think about that, then I think it helps us to be kinder and gentler with each other, because you never know what that will mean for somebody, you know? Or when it will mean something for somebody. It could be years down the road. You know.
And then it just hits you that this is why the puzzle starts to get connected and put together. No, I was very blessed with a great family. I had teachers of all kind in the family, and a couple of nuns, and for aunts and uncles, and my uncle, my godfather was my Uncle John. And science, again, school was not for me, you know, but anyway, science was not for me. And he tried to teach me so many things, and he was the head of the science department in Massachusetts, so he really knew his stuff. So the only thing I took away, and it still doesn't make sense to me, was that water was densest at 4 degrees centigrade. So it was like, yeah, so what? If I want dense water, I'll get an ice cube. I mean, what? But, and I can still see him shaking his head at me and saying, oh my.
But little fun fact
a little fun fact. So if I took away nothing else, I stored that. But, you know, we didn't have a lot as a family, but we had each other, and we had a lot of good values, and we just learned, I guess they call it crafts and things. Another aunt would teach us how to paint the Easter eggs, and you know, and have a great Easter egg hunt, or how to make Polish kielbasa. So I made the most expensive Polish kielbasa probably that anyone has ever made.
Oh gosh.
My dad was not feeling well, and it seemed like on Good Friday we would smoke kielbasa outside in a smoker. And he wasn't feeling well, so he said to me, he says, you take care of it this year. Well, next to the smoker is this wood pile. Nice wood pile. And next to that is, you know, gas can and whatever. And he said to me very clearly that morning, make sure you move all that stuff away from directly to the smoker. Make sure you hook up the hose, you know, in case you have a fire. And it's like a 7-hour process. So I didn't do any of those things because I was mad because I had to smoke the sausage and there was nobody there to help me. And you have to watch it like the whole time. It's not like these electric smokers now that they have. This was like, you know, big smoker. So we had probably 50 pounds of sausage in this smoker. And I smoked it, and I got it done. It came out beautiful, no problems. So I went in the house to take a nap. My mom comes from work, and she comes in the house yelling and screaming, there's a fire, there's a fire. Well, I thought she was exaggerating. And there was a fire. It was the whole wood pile. Right along the driveway.
Gosh, Mary.
You know, within 20 feet of the house, 25 feet of the house.
Oh my gosh.
I said, Dad.
And your dad on the fire department.
He was retired at this point. I said, Dad, call the fire department. I am not calling the fire department. He wasn't going to be embarrassed by his daughter. So I had to go down cellar. I had to hook up the hose, turn the water on. I put that fire out myself, and he would not call anybody. He wouldn't do it. I had to put that fire out. But that sausage cost a lot of money because that wood was worth, he had beautiful planks there. He had everything there. So it was probably $40 or $50 a pound.
And I bet you didn't really get to eat it.
Oh yeah, because the sausage was out of the grill.
It was out?
The sausage was out. And I had closed everything down. The fire started from the heat in the...
I see. Okay, well, At
But
least
it was still expensive sausage.
I bet every bite of it was just a reminder.
For many years.
For many years.
For many years.
For many years. Yeah, those are the kinds of things that get brought up over and over again.
But those are the memories, you know, those are the things that are crazy.
Yeah. Well, and you can't, you know, it's like they say, you can't make this stuff up.
You cannot make it up. It's for real. It's for real.
So I think I, you know, comment on this every show, that the time goes very quickly when we're sitting here. So as we're kind of winding down our time together, I just want to ask you to reflect a little bit on something that you love about this area, living in this area, growing up in this area, being in this area, Rutland, West Rutland. What is it that you love?
I think it's community. Part of my job at the hospital as a vice president was emergency preparedness. And you never know what's going to come. You never know what's going to happen. But what I saw was this community always came together. Always. The local towns, the city, whatever. If there was a problem, everybody rallied. And they still do to a large degree.
Yes.
They just rallied. I mean, we don't have the disasters that they have, you know, tornadoes and stuff every other day across the country.
Sure.
But we had our own disasters. And I remember most specifically the the flood, the last big flood. And people just, you know, the Loretta home had to get out of there. They had to evacuate.
Yeah.
We took those people in at the hospital, but people just rallied.
Yeah.
They were just there. They, you know, somebody opened up, I think Walmart at the time, or maybe it was still Kmart. They opened it up and they got extra stuff for us.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and the police departments and the fire departments, you know, the work that they do, I think it's so underappreciated because they're the first, they're the team that leads.
Yes.
They just lead us, and that's what's great about this community. I think we have great resources in those areas. Yeah. But the people give. They'll pull their pocket, and they'll be their last dime, but they'll give. Yeah.
I see that myself. You know, I think the community as a whole, and not just, you know, the city, but this whole area. This whole area.
The Rutland County area.
Vermont, Rutland County area. Very generous of spirit. You know, very willing to lend a hand. Yeah. Pitch in, do what needs to be done, and we have seen it, you know, time and time again in big ways, but I think people experience it day to day, you know, from their neighbors or from strangers who just are trying to do the right thing. It's that
love. They put everything else on hold at that moment, and it's that love.
That's exactly right.
It really is that love, and it's beautiful.
Yep.
It really is beautiful.
The love of this community and the desire, I think, to do the right thing and to help and to, you know, just be a good human being, you know.
And those disasters, sometimes I think they ground us. You know, they ground us and make us reflect on, oh my. Yeah, you know.
And appreciate
each other.
Appreciate the people, like you said, who are the first responders, who are out there before anybody else dealing with the chaos. And appreciate our neighbors who will step up to do whatever they can do with whatever resources they have.
Yeah, it can be that cup of coffee, it can be a sandwich, it can be money. Yep. It can be a home. Right. It can be a shelter.
Use of a vehicle, you know, all that kind of stuff that people just step up and do.
I think that's what we have. I think that's what we have here, and I think we take it for granted sometimes. You know, I think we take it for granted, but it's that love of each other and community when the chips are down, especially. Yeah. And it's sad that it can only happen during that time. Yeah. Yeah, well, sometimes those things are good opportunities to remind us to be grateful, you know, to be grateful and appreciate each other. I mean, the Christmas fund, the stuff a bus, all the things they do. All the community events, that people just contribute to because they love this place. Yeah. And maybe it's less than it used to be, but they're still contributing. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's a great note to end on, good positive community vibe, and I just have enjoyed all of this time with you, Mary. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you for the tea. It was wonderful. Absolutely. And thanks to everybody who's tuned in to watch, and we'll see you next time on Tea and Talk.